Hello, this is Krista coming at you here again today. And today I want to talk a little bit about narcissistic abuse again. When you are in a relationship and you find that during that relationship it seems fine in the beginning, but then during later in the relationship, all of a sudden that man or woman in your life becomes hard to get along with. All of a sudden they might start insulting you, insulting your ideas, calling you names under their breath or out loud. Basically, all of a sudden, they don't seem like the same person, that happy person that they were when you were first together. And then maybe it gets to the point where it just becomes out of control and you are just arguing all the time, or he or she is constantly beating or battering you down with their words, or even physically beginning to slam doors and things around to keep you in more of a frightened state, using threats and intimidation to get their way, and all of a sudden they're not the same person that they used to be. I'm talking about what is narcissism. Narcissism is in the cluster B family. There can be milder to more extreme levels of narcissism, where it can just be like there is a natural, normal state of narcissism that we all have to keep us healthy and in balance, where, we have to meet our certain needs in the world to fulfill and to, create a dependence around us, and then an independence around us. And also there are more states of being that are formed usually at an early age with these types of people. And when it goes into more extreme levels of narcissism, it can be anywhere from a very self-grandiose, all about me type of attitude, where everything really kind of revolves around them and has to be about them, where they kind of ignore your needs, your wants and desires, and love is not mutually reciprocated back to you when you give it. These are some signs. Also, one of the main things that they do is to always make themselves more superior than everybody else. And then you have to take a more inferior role. They do this with making another person not feel very good about themselves. Usually it could be verbally, physically, mentally, spiritually, where they are going to make you feel like you are not good enough. That is one of the main things that they do. I know for a long time I've stayed stuck in one relationship after another, thinking that just maybe that men that dressed bad, that didn't have really great jobs and things like that, were the bad ones, and to go for maybe the ones with more money that dress nicely, and more of the hero type. But all in all, narcissists can take any form. Some narcissists can have a lot of money, have great jobs. Other ones might not, and might not even be able to hold a job. Narcissists can be addicts, alcoholics. They can be straight on all of the substances. It might be money for one, but all in all, they all are the same. And this is also, they have actually finally given a name to the type of individual that is domestically violent. There are all different kinds of narcissists. The ones that are more violent, there is another name for those. They do have certain types of narcissists. But either way, that person can bash you in a lot of many different forms. So I wanted to make this clear today on a video. I don't know if I've ever done this before, but just talked a little bit about what a narcissist is. You know, like I said, I've dealt with them all my life, and I was always left after the relationship just in shambles, wondering why that person was so mean. A lot of us are drawn to the narcissist because we are codependent. Maybe we are empaths. Maybe we never got the right love that we deserved as children as well. Even though everything about your family might have seemed to be okay, and you never really noticed there was anything wrong, although you keep picking these types of men and women that cannot reciprocate mutual love to you and keep you dangling. There are three types. There's like a three-way cycle that they take you through. At first, in the beginning, they might really honeymoon you really well, where, you know, they flaunt you around on dates and take you to the best places and restaurants and things, and start planning your lives together, like things that they're going to take you and do with you in the future, and really maybe call a lot more than an average person would, and just tell you wonderful things about yourself, and that you are just exactly what they were looking for, and you match so well, and it was a match made in heaven. This and that, which is what really the love bombing is all about, is making you feel on top of the world, and filling your head with those endorphins that just make you feel absolutely wonderful and so loved. And you really think that it is real. The second stage is when called the devaluing stage. There are 3 stages. The second one, the devaluing, is quite different from the love bombing, because either maybe when all of a sudden there might be a sudden, like, you suddenly move in with that person. It's quite quick that all of a sudden you get together, and maybe that sudden marriage or that sudden relationship where you're suddenly living together, or, you know, it's all very quickly done, which narcissists can do as well. You know, when suddenly you have been with this person for a while, it could be anywhere from like a few months to even a few years, when they finally get to the stage of the devaluing, where all of a sudden they might be ignoring you, neglecting your feelings, not paying attention to you like once they used to. maybe delving into work or going here and there and kind of leaving you out. Maybe they don't take you to those nice restaurants anymore and leave you more at home. Um, maybe it's not as great in bed as it used to. Maybe you're not getting satisfied anymore, and they're just kind of leave you out of anything and everything. And not only that is only kind of the ignore, neglect kind of stuff, but it gets even worse than that, to where they start complaining a lot about you or anything else. Kind of just becoming a Groucho Marx, just not being that happy, upbeat, great, energetic person maybe they once appeared to be, and starting to put you down about yourself or things like that. They seem a little bit more on edge. These are all the second stage. Finally, the third stage comes. And the third stage is the discard. Where all of a sudden they leave you feeling like you're just really low, like all of a sudden you don't feel like you have very much self-esteem anymore, or you don't think very good of yourself anymore like you once did. And you just feel very tired, low of energy, and just kind of beaten in different ways or neglected. And of course they always make it your fault. No matter what they're upset about or whatever it is, it's usually all our fault. They're never the one to blame, because with the narcissist, they don't see that it is ever their fault. They're fine. This is a part of the personality disorder that they have. Unfortunately, the more work that you put into it, it might work for a while, but it usually goes back to the mistreatment that they were doing before, because usually for a narcissist, most 99% of the time, there is no really hope for narcissists to recover or get better, even with treatment. So the discard stage is the final stage, although the cycle can repeat itself over and over again through a marriage or, a relationship, where the discard can be where they finally just don't really want anything to do with you. They go off and again they just kind of leave you out of the picture and everything. And it can get to like the state of the discard where they just kind of start kicking you around and maybe beating you physically. Like that is the escalation stage, where maybe you can take no more, and you try to stand up to it, but then all of a sudden, and then maybe you talk about leaving or something, and then they finally go into what is called a narcissistic rage. Because their ego is so poor and fragile that when you either try to break or shake that ego, that narcissistic rage can come out. That's the scariest part, because they become a monster, kind of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And they can beat you in all different kinds of ways, like I said, but especially during the discard, the escalation part, they can really just do it to, like, the highest degree, where they are going to punish you and hurt you the most, and put you down into a place, bruised and beaten on the inside and out, and then usually when a victim can take it no more, a lot of times what happens is all of a sudden it can fall back into the honeymoon, where they are sorry and they promise they're never going to do it again, and they honeymoon you just a little bit. You never quite get that great honeymoon like they gave, that love bombing like they gave you at first, but they will give you just a little bit of that, and then finally go back into the cycle all over again, over and over again. To break the cycle is kind of what I'm trying to do here in my videos, even for myself. Breaking the cycle is when you start learning and become aware of who this person really is. You know, and what they're really about, and also like maybe beginning your own recovery process. Usually that entails finally learning enough and healing enough that you can finally start getting away from this person. It's really hard to get away from these types because they are so manipulatively magnetic. Sometimes there can be a very, very, very extremely strong pull there, because not only are they pulling on your heartstrings, they're also manipulating your mind, your emotions again, your spiritual, your soul, and physically, you know, just to keep you hold with maybe some good sex, or just different, or money, or whatever it is, to keep hold of you. They will use your most vulnerable points to keep you where you're at. Or, you know, the discard can also, again, be where they finally just leave. And maybe it be for another woman or man, or they just leave, you know. So there are, you know, different ways to discard, and that can be very painful as well, although you know that you are better off. I'm going to tell you right now, you are much better off without these types of people, because they can really just use a lot of techniques, very painful, punishing techniques, to keep you down, where you don't feel good about yourself, and all of a sudden you stop having friends and start staying in more and just hiding away, because they make you feel like there's something really wrong with you. That's another dangerous thing that they do. Okay, so I guess I'm just gonna finish there. I've got to get some lunch. And I just kind of wanted to give you a little quick, maybe beginning video about narcissism, what it is, and just a little bit about it. So thank you for listening today, and have a great one. Peace.